prospect honks were salivating because they're like, holy crap, this guy's gonna be really good, unless they screw him up. And thankfully no one screwed him up. He was really good. He's still really good. But the last, the Flames have had, your franchise altering prospects since Brad Treliving's come in have been Tkachuk and Gaudreau, and that's it. The rest of them have been pretty good. They've had a lot of guys come in and play significant minutes. You can make an argument.
Anderson's been a decent pickup.
He's a top four guy. He's a top four guy, but he's no. I think of it this way. Back in the day, when we were kids, we called it the Akinla test. As in, what's the top line? The top line is wherever line Akinla's on. That's the Akinla test. So the Flames have a Tkachuk and a Gaudreau. So whatever line Tkachuk and Gaudreau are on, especially together, is the top line. The Flames don't have that with the defense. They have a top four. They don't have a de facto top, number one pair, because none of their guys are guys you say that guy's the top defenseman.
They're not McAvoy, Fox, Makar, right? But they're solid.
So the Flames have a lot of guys who project to be, they have a lot of guys that fans, prospect honks, scouts, whoever can get excited about, but they're always a but. Like, even the Flames' best prospects are guys you go, they're pretty good, but they're not going to be top line guys, or they're pretty good, but their defense is kind of they're pretty good, but they're kind of small. They all have that kind of a but.
But we got to find a balance too.
But the Flames have enough of those guys that you can probably live with it, because they have a lot of B plus level prospects. They don't have a lot of random dudes like they don't have a lot of random dudes who are AHL filler. All due respect, they don't have a lot of Zach Fishers in their system. They have almost none. They don't have a lot of guys who go, oh, he's a good AHLer, but he's never going to play in the NHL. Like, even the guys like Iitu Talola is probably one of the guys who has a large uphill battle to go, because he's been kind of inconsistent as an AHL player. He might get qualified, he might not. It's going to be an uphill battle, but he's got that great shot. So the guy, even the flawed Flames prospects, have that thing that make you excited about them. Maybe Colton Poolman, you could make an argument that doesn't really have that, because he's a good 2A AHLer, but he doesn't really have that thing that makes you excited about it. He's not bad. He's an AHL level guy. Even someone like Ilya Solovyov is a little bit younger. Solovyov has sort of that ability to shut guys down when he's on his game. He's not always on his game, which is why he's on the third pairing in the AHL. But you can kind of see why the scouts are like, well, he's got decent size, and you can kind of lean on guys. And
you can stew defensemen a little longer too. Like, you can stew them up to their 24, 25.
This is the long way of saying the Flames, through trades, smart drafting, European free agents, college free agents, whatever, all the mess that they have available to them, have gotten themselves to a point where they might not have a lot of high-end prospects. They have enough exciting prospects, or got people who be exciting to different teams, that they can probably put together a couple trades and not completely empty the cupboards. Like, Stockton's not going to suddenly become a lousy AHL team because of the trades Brad potentially has to make between now and the trade deadline. And I think that itself might be the thing that makes you go, he's not a bad GM, because they have that kind of depth, and they've accumulated that kind of depth where they can do a lot of things, and they're not going to completely handcuff themselves.
Would you say standard package for rental player is a player, pick, prospect, right? Like a low end player, a high draft pick, and a prospect that the other team's interested in. If you say that that's the base package, the Flames have depth players they could move. They may not want to, but they have. But if they just want to do picks and prospects, they got a first and 2 seconds this year. They got a first round pick next year. That
they have all their picks next year.
Yeah,
they haven't touched it at all.
I'm just saying, I personally wouldn't want to touch next year's draft pick. I would try to skip to 2024 just because the draft is insane. But they have ammo. They're not going to be struggling. And everyone say, it was, he missed on this. He missed on Jack Eichel, which was the package ended up being what Buffalo wanted, Peyton Krebs in that draft pick. Buffalo picked that. There was an offer on the table, they said. So it's not Brad's fault that Buffalo picked Vegas. There's no fault to him. If he tabled a decent package that's comparable, right? We don't know that for certain. It's speculation. Obviously, would like to clarify that. But he's got the tools for players like JT Miller, Tyler Toffoli, second line guys that names have been floating out here. They're easily, Calgary has the ammunition to get if they want. The cap hurdles are a different thing altogether, especially if you're going to get someone that has term. But for this season, and if you want to push the cap troubles to the road, if they could, if they really want to, you could do something like that. And the Flames have the tools to do it.
I think the Flames currently constructed are probably the best team that Brad Treliving's had since he's become a general manager. And they're miles ahead of what Daryl Sutter had to work with when he was the head coach here back, years ago. He has some they have a team that can maintain a really high tempo of play and play an entertaining system. But I think the big thing is, I think the big challenge now is, can they, the things that make you nervous, like, oh man, if one of the top 4 defense guys get hurt, it would suck, but I think they have enough depth. They could work around it. I still think they need to add a depth defenseman at some point, somebody with some playoff experience. I think that would make Daryl Sutter and everybody sleep a little bit better. Their goaltending's fine. Granted, if Markstrom goes down, no one's really expecting them to go in a cup run with Dan Vladar, but you could say that about basically every NHL team. But if someone on that top 6 goes down right now, unless they add some bodies, I think that'd be the big Achilles heel of this team. And I think it's obvious. And I think, when he was on with our friend Pat Steinberg and Matt Rose on Sportsnet 960, the Fans Flames Talk on Tuesday afternoon, Brad Treliving flat out, basically said, yeah, we're looking for scoring depth. The scoring is the one thing that sort of, I think, keeps the Flames up at night in their hockey ops department. There's one thing they text each other at night. Their text chain's all about, we need more goals. Yeah, bro, we need more goals. Because, bro, they need more goals. And they know it. It's not a secret. Pierre LeBrun also did a piece with Brad Treliving, and the big takeaway. It was kind of I don't like ragging on our media friends because they're all lovely people for the most part. But when Insider Trading's big headline piece is the Flames need secondary scoring, one, they just did a 30-minute interview with Pat saying the same thing. So you're not exactly tilling new ground. But since the Flames have been since Jerome McGinley was here, since the days of yore, since probably the late 80s when the Flames started stripping down the team for spare parts after they won the cup, they've needed secondary scoring for like 30 years. Since
the guys retired, they won the cup and then they had a few guys retire.
Since the Canadian dollar hit the toilet in the early 90s and they needed to sell off guys left and right to keep payroll afloat, the Flames have needed secondary scoring. So I mean, yeah, it's a story, but it's not really a new news because this is no secret. League wide, I think everyone knows the Flames are in the market for secondary scoring. But I think also they're in a position where secondary scoring can benefit them more than it ever has before. And I think they're in a position now where they have, as you said, Shane, they've got the bullets to do some things and still have some ammo left for later on. I mean, the cap is the cap. This summer's gonna be weird and wacky and fun for a lot of reasons. Part of it is, like we talked about last week, Johnny Gaudreau's contract. It's a lot of other things they need to do. I honestly think outside of the Johnny Gaudreau piece, they're gonna be working on Johnny Gaudreau till Johnny Gaudreau's done. That's not a secret. But outside of Johnny Gaudreau, I don't think they give a crap about anything else except maximizing the playoff window right now. Because, if you're like, oh no, you can't do this, the cap will be weird next year. Cap is going to be weird next year, regardless if they do nothing. If they make the move they want to make, or they make no moves whatsoever. If this trade deadline turns into that 1 year where Jay Feaster just re-signed Tim Jackman for some reason, they're still going to need to do some really, really crucial things to restructure the salary cap of the team.
There's been a lot of moves done in the modern day for the Flames to try and just get right-hand shooting forwards, period.